Plaintiff will call Ted down.
Court clerk, swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
You may. Actually, I'm not sure. Got to go to council table, Mr. Daniel.
Oh, here, we can council there.
Well, it's dry over the
Are there different wells?
Or today.
I didn't know you had to drink water. Okay, thank you.
Can you state your,
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Roach, I'm sorry.
thank you. Can you state your full name for us, please?
Theodore E. Downing.
And historically, have you been involved with politics here in the state of Arizona?
Yes, I'm a recovering politician now, but at one time I was involved since 2000 and elected to 2 terms in the state legislature.
All right, and what years were you in the Arizona State Legislature?
2003, 2006.
And that was as a representative?
From here, from Tucson, it was District 28 at that time.
All right, and is that within Pima County?
Yes.
All right. As part of your actions as a state legislature, did at some point you attempt to draft and introduce into the state legislature a bill regarding hand counting or hand audits of elections?
Yes, I did.
All right. And when was it that you started that process?
In 2006, it arose out of irregularities, the interest in it, and if you're going to tell you how that happened.
Yeah, how did you decide that
Well, I specialize, my specialty professionally as a professor at universities in governance systems, and so I got very interested in election law and election procedures. There was an odd election took place in Ahwatukee, where 2 Republicans had run. There was confusion as to what the hand count, there was an audit, there was a recount where during the recount about 480 votes or 487 votes appeared that were not in the original count, and the race was flipped. With that, my interest was helped because Senator Karen Johnson, who's a Republican, I was a Democrat at the time, Senator Karen Johnson and I had discussions about it. She said we needed to introduce some kind of change in election law, and from that came Senate Bill 5057, which ultimately became law. That law provided for the hand count of elections and other things. It's a general bill.
Okay, let me go back real quick and review. In Ahwatukee, was that a election that was tabulated originally by computer?
Yes, the Ahwatukee was tabulated by, I think, the same machines we use here. I could be mistaken on that because I can't remember exact designation of the machine. But they had counted the ballots. It was in a primary, which decides the election. That's very important. Primaries decide the election in 25 or so of our 30 legislative districts. There had been a count. They were too close, and after that decision was made, there was a mandatory recount required by law. They ran the ballots again through the machine, and this puzzling thing happened. One additional ballot appeared, but 400 and I can't remember, 457, something in that range. 400 votes appeared, flipping the election and allowing another candidate to win.
Okay, so that result was actually, the person elected was actually changed by the ability to do a hand count.
Exactly. No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it was changed. It was changed by the odd thing was the machine counted differently twice.
Okay. So,
Or something happened, or somebody changed the ballots.
so without, well, let me back up. You thereafter decided that you wanted to see if the state legislature would pass a bill requiring hand count audits of elections.
That's correct.
As part of your drafting of the bill and gathered support for it, did you discuss the bill with people involved in the various counties' elections departments?
Yes, it's a pro forma procedure when you do an election bill in the legislature, that the county election directors and recorders are brought into the process. This bill, because it involves substantial changes in the workload of the county election directors and recorders, they were invited in by Karen Johnson and me, and we had several meetings, multiple meetings, including with Brad Nelson, who, if I recall right, he was the president or some designated leadership role in the 15 county election process, and the other one was Karen Osborne, from Maricopa County.
And Brad Nelson, in addition to being holding the position with the statewide organization, is he also the director of the Pima County Elections Department?
Yes, he was election director.
All right. Were you instructed by Brad Nelson about any races that he did not want to be included in the required state law for hand audits?
In the design of the hand count audit, we had to decide which elections were auditable because it was impossible to audit all elections. And we decided federal, state, and federal, state, one major, legislative races, and questions arose during those discussions whether to do county elections.
What were you told by Brad Nelson concerning whether or not you could include county elections?
They didn't like it, and they didn't want to include counties, and in fact, we were told that they would not continue to work with us on the bill. They would oppose the bill if we allowed counties to be included.
And with your knowledge of the state system, would the state elections director opposing the bill have affected whether or not it could?
It would effectively kill the bill.
All right. And so you were directly told, don't put it in there?
Yeah, but there wasn't a real reason. We were, and I should say this to be clarified, we were told not to put it in, as there was no, like, as if something was going to go on. It was just that we were looking how many races we are in, and when we got into that discussion, Brad indicated that the county didn't want it, and Karen Osborne was even more emphatic.
All right. Did you ask him why don't you want the county elections to be covered?
No.
All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Rose, Mr. Jerkowitz.
Mr. Brown,
Yes, sir. Good morning, where you at?
Okay. I couldn't hear his name.
are you aware that there is a,
Speak up, Mr.
I couldn't
Jerkowitz.
hear. Okay.
are you aware that there's a, in 16602C, that there's a designated margin of error set for a hand count versus the electronic results?
Yes, we wrote that in during the discussion with the help of some technical people.
And are you aware of any hand count that has overturned the electronic results since this legislation has been enacted?
No, and that's to the credit of the legislation, because the idea was to make people who were working on the machines or dealing with the machines and dealing with the count, and I see Dr. Moffers here, and there was an election integrity committee here in Pima County. We're all very concerned that there's an accurate count so the government, so that the purpose of this, let me make that real clear, the purpose of what we're talking about is to ensure that the people of the United States, the people of Pima County, have faith in their elections so that they will continue. It's been the core, it's the bedrock of our democracy.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Roach.
No further questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Governor.
Thank you.
Judge, I would offer as an offer of proof. I have 12 plaintiffs in this particular case, that are Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Greens, Independents. Bill Beard is here. He's also a current candidate for a county election. I would offer him to testify as a representative plaintiff for the general allegations that I have made in this case concerning the plaintiffs, that they are all electors. Bill Beard in particular is a candidate for a county election. As an offer of proof, rather than having all 12 of them come up and repeat 3 or 4 questions, if the court would be willing to accept that each one of the plaintiffs would testify to their party affiliation to being an elector, I would leave it at that. Otherwise, I can briefly go through each one of them for the purposes of the record.
Mr. Jerkowitz, we're going to need to have them all come up and identify themselves and tell me they're all electorates as represented in Mr. Roach's pleading.
I don't have any information to the contrary, Your Honor, but I would just maintain our standing objection to the relevancy on all of these witnesses.
I understand. I think I will accept your offer of proof, Mr. Jerkowitz. I appreciate your cooperation, and I understand your objection to your position. Anything else, Mr. Roach?
With that, Your Honor, I have no further evidence.
And again, Mr. Jerkowitz, you're Johnny on the spot, unfortunately. Do you plan on presenting any testimony now?
Well, Your Honor, I have not had an opportunity to prepare county defendants, any experts testify on the county's behalf at this point. If I could indulge the court for a few minutes, I would call one of the party representatives who observes the elections, and is on the Elections Integrity Committee, Mr. Ben White, to testify what he thinks of what's been going on. I'll call Mr. White.